Welcome back to Hoops HD,
Woohoo!
everybody. It is Wednesday, December 18th. That means it is time for our Under the Radar podcast, a little old school Under
Yes.
the Radar. I'm Chad Sherwood. That's David Griggs, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Chad, you and I started under the radar that it's way back into the archives. I went back and watched the first ever episode we did.
Don't, please don't. No
And,
one
and
else should ever do that.
yeah, I can't believe it's still on the internet. Wow. Why hasn't
Yeah,
someone removed that? It's terrible.
yeah, we were awful.
Yeah.
Now we're just bad. Back then we
Yeah,
were
now
awful.
we're just bad.
Anyhow, this is our Under the Radar show where we discuss all the teams that are not above the radar. That is,
Right.
we don't discuss ACC, Big East, Big Ten, Big 12, SEC, what else? Mountain West, A10, American,
Hmm.
and West Coast. Those nine
Yep.
conferences we did deal with in our Hoops HD report. The rest of college basketball is fair game for this show, I
Yeah,
think.
it is. So it's the 22 leagues that aren't regular one bid leagues.
And we're going to spend about, 30, 45 minutes per team tonight. So we should be done in
Yeah.
about 3 weeks.
Yeah. If Rocco Miller was with us tonight, he normally is, couldn't be with us tonight. He's traveling to three or four different games, I think. But
He
y
is in New Mexico. He's at the pit, the VCU New Mexico game, not
yeah,
under the radar.
right. So I mean, he wanted to come on, but we told him you can't come on here from the pit. What are you thinking?
Let's go ahead and pull. What I should do is we like to start with a feature conference. And Griggs, I thought that I have a very appropriate conference to meet tonight. We normally are feature for our conference, one conference we start out with, a conference where something good's really going on. There's really a noteworthy story about one or two teams near the top of it. There's a
Yeah.
very noteworthy story about this conference, and I thought this is the perfect way to start, but it ain't quite near the top of the conference.
Um,
I thought we'd start things off with the Horizon League, and let's talk a little Green Bay basketball down there at number 11.
yeah. So uh the Green Bay Phoenix and head coach Doug Gottlieb are not off to a good start. I'm starting to think that maybe some decisions were made on the administrative level that may have been a mistake. One of their wins is against SIUE, who's one of the better, if not the best team in the OVC. So go figure that. But today, losing to Division Two Michigan Tech, and I don't. We normally don't beat up on a team just for the hell of it at a low moment, but I think this does require a bit of a spotlight. Not only is it a non-D1 team that beat them at home, but didn't Doug Gottlieb, I didn't hear exactly what he said, but didn't he sort of throw shade at them on his radio show, calling them nobody you, and we're going to beat them by 20. And that did not happen the day. And am I correct? I wasn't, it was a busy day for me, binge drinking in the middle of the afternoon. Uh, but did he not go on his own radio show after the game today?
He did not go. His show is supposed to be out after the game. Did not happen today, so we'll see what all that is about. Uh, but but I mean, he had a post just a couple of days ago about, oh, this is the time of year everyone has to fake even pretending to work. Well, I don't think he worked today.
Yeah.
Um, and and I think this begs the question: what how good of an idea really is it to hire as your head coach not only somebody with no head coaching experience, not only somebody who's a media personality, but somebody who is still doing their media stuff at the same time that you're head coach? I think we got the answer to that this year so far.
Yeah, it's not the same. And he never struck me as being someone I liked all that much, but he never really drove me crazy. I actually kind of appreciated how open he was about some of the bad decisions he made when he was a player and like what led to his dismissal. I mean, he owned basically all of that. I'm like, well, that's kind of admirable, but he never struck me as being. I think there's. I don't mean this to toot our own. I think we have many people in the Hoops HD orbit that I trust more than him as an analyst, uh, you included. So he wasn't even a good analyst. What made you think? What made anybody think he was cut out for this? It's not at all the same.
Anyhow, we do want to talk a little bit about the rest of the conference. I did pull Youngstown State up there on the right. I'll pull it back up here. They
Penguin
just
fever.
Youngstown just picked up a fairly solid win tonight at Wright State, to go to
Hmm.
3-0 conference play in a half a game in possession of first place. And I think it's them in Milwaukee so far. Fort Wayne has been a little disappointing. They had a they had lost last week, but uh,
Yeah,
what about the top of the league here?
Yeah, Fort Wayne is who I kind of liked the most coming into the season. They haven't shown out. I still think they have the highest ceiling. Youngstown State, at least for us, probably the best story. They had a great run the last couple of years. Couldn't quite get it done to win the league and get the automatic bid, but still a really good team. And then after they went through all of that transition period and all of that turnover, to see them still looking like that they could be at or near the top of the league. It's pretty reassuring to see that that wasn't just an anomaly, that the program might be around to stay. But I don't know.
And I do like what Milwaukee did this weekend when they beat Akron. I thought Akron was a pretty good team, so I'll give Milwaukee credit for that. I think that this team will be right there as well
Yes.
this season.
Hmm. And where do you think this? I mean, we'll spend a little bit more time on this one because it is the feature conference. IU Indy with 5 wins. Detroit making a lot of noise. If you're looking for other storylines, these were previously horrendously bad programs. Centenary Award winners, both of them, I think, weren't they? At some point or another. And not at the top of the league yet, but much improved.
Much improved, yes, and which is even worse for Green Bay because I think this team is well on their way to dead last. And
Yeah.
Griggs, is that a typo on line number 10 there? Moritz Robert?
Morris, no, no, I don't believe it is. Morris
Well,
Robert,
let's
that's
double check.
yeah, yeah, they're from
No, it
Pittsburgh.
is
No, no,
correct.
it's
Morris
yeah,
Robert.
you got it correct. There
I
they
just
are
wanted to make sure.
playing against Cornell. Uh,
Morris
man,
Robert.
yeah,
So anyone think it's a typo? It's not. That is the team name. We have confirmed it. We have video
right.
evidence.
Yes, I
Uh,
mean we have researchers that confirm things like that. That's why we never make mistakes.
I think Rocco was at that game.
Rocco was at that game. He was in that picture if you pull it up again. Well, I mean, if you're listening and not watching, yeah, there. Well, he's not in the picture, but I mean, he was at the game. You can see where he would be normally. He was getting a Coke or something.
So it's yeah, it's scheduled in the league, and everyone put a focus in
What's
on
up
this
with
young
Morris
son.
Robert making Rocco get his own Coke? Don't they have somebody to bring him his drink?
The young son who we just addressed has the one game Saturday. They are at Upstate, and Milwaukee is hosting somebody known as North Central.
From Illinois?
Fort Wayne hosting Defiance, and interesting game Sunday at Michigan. I think they're a bit over their head in that one, though.
Way over their head. Oakland and Loyola Chicago. I mean,
That's round one of the Diamond Head, by the way. Oakland going out to the
yeah.
Diamond Head this weekend,
Right.
beginning this
Oakland
weekend.
with the great run last year. You hate to see just how much they lost. Greg Campy's still a really good coach, really competitive, at least for part of that game against Michigan State. Michigan State, of course, ended up blowing it open, but it was still a fun game to watch.
Let's go ahead and run back to the rest of the leagues. We'll start things off alphabetically in the America East, where Vermont did bounce back from their loss to Colgate over the weekend, took out Miami of Ohio tonight.
Yeah.
But but we're talking about the team that's down there in seventh out of nine teams because this is the preceded favorite and still a team we think should be there at the end. Although Lowell has played really well this season, and we've been talking this main team up how improved they are as well.
Yeah. Well, let's pull out both of them, Lowell and Maine, because Maine has been, I think they've won their last four or something. And I realize that they're not exactly beating blue bloods. But I mean,
Only
for
two
them
in a
to
row,
be,
but yeah.
yeah, for them to be beating anyone is pretty impressive. And I think they're going to make some noise in the league. I still, at least from an eye test, like Lowell the most, even more than Vermont. I know when we get into conference play, Vermont's going to be very much in there, but I think Lowell can win it. They're certainly
Yeah,
the best team. They're certainly the best UMass team in D1.
I will say the win column here remained beat a pretty good Elon team,
They did, yeah.
and they won at Brown, and Brown, as we know, is the Ocean State champion,
The
tournament
o
champions this year.
Ocean State champions. Rhodey could not win at Brown. Maine did.
Yep.
Which would Maine? How would Maine fare in the A10 this year? I mean, do you think they'd finish
It'd be
ahead of Rhode Island?
competitive.
Yeah,
If Rhode Island, maybe I don't know about Dayton or VCU or a few
yeah.
others, but there's a couple good teams there. But that's not under the radar, Griggs.
That's not under the. Oh,
Where's the
okay,
buzzer?
tell
I
me.
don't have a buzzer.
Yeah.
Uh, Next week the buzzer will be back, by the way, everyone.
Why?
Let you know
Why?
that.
I kind of like not having it.
Upcoming schedule: Vermont's at Dartmouth on Saturday. That's a road test. Maine is at Stony Brook.
Hmm.
Uh, Bryant has also got some good metrics. At least they'll be at Towson, but right over to the ASUN. Uh,
Yeah.
and ASUN SoCon Conference Challenge is done, by the way. Final score: ASUN did fall by 11-9 score this
Still a good
season in the
showing.
Stevens Challenge, and they actually were down, I think, 11-6. I think they won the last two or three in a row
Hmm.
to at least make it more respectable. Um,
Yeah.
but outside of that, I don't know that anybody did much this week in this conference outside of their College Series wins that you can see a couple of
Yeah.
them on there.
Lipscomb, a pretty solid team, beating up on some non-D1s. God, why do they have to play so many of those? North Florida, a team that made quite a bit of noise early on with some brand name wins, has come back down to earth a little bit. And if anything, you're starting to question whether or not Georgia Tech and who else they beat was any good. Was it South Carolina? South Carolina did just have a big win, but
North Florida's wins were over South Carolina and
yeah,
Georgia Tech, and it's amazing they beat an SEC school, and there's very few schools in the nation this year who've beaten
yeah.
an SEC school.
Right. So, and again, not under the radar, but South Carolina just getting another big win.
Over
But I
Clemson,
still
yep.
like this Lipscomb team. Eastern Kentucky is started to make a little bit of noise. And it's not only that I like Lipscomb, Chad, I'm not sure that I like anyone else. It's just been Austin P. I was really big on them for about a week or two. I don't know what the hell has happened to him. They've just fallen apart. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, team that's like this playing well. They had a two in a week is this Queens team, obviously not postseason eligible, but they could
yeah.
be a team that gives Lipscomb a bit of a run in the conference for regular
Hmm.
season titles. They will be able to participate in the ASUN tournament at least.
Yeah.
But
Um, yeah, can anybody keep pace with Lipscomb? And I know that it's sometimes hard to go onto the road in these places, but I could see Lipscomb running away with the league.
I could. This is not quite into conference play yet. Actually, uh, more weeks until conference play. But interesting game Thursday night here. Lipscomb's at Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
Number one, it's not a very far long road trip at all.
Yeah,
From
both in the
Nashville
Nashville.
to Murfreesboro. Yeah, but
Yeah.
pretty good Middle Tennessee team. That game is going to be worth watching Thursday, I think.
Yeah, the Nashville schools, including Vanderbilt from the SEC, typically it's not the Big Five, like there isn't an unofficial mythical organization, but they all play each other frequently, and some like Lipscomb and Belmont play every year. But they've played Middle Tennessee before, fairly regularly. That is a good game, and I think Lipscomb can go. That is a really good game. That's worth watching tomorrow night.
Uh, let's jump over to a conference that has a chance to have a breaking story that's going to be concluded well after we finish our show here. But as we record this, about 5 minutes left in the first half, North Dakota with a 1 point win, 1 point lead over Alabama in a game that they're playing at North Dakota. But that is not one of the finals that we're going to be discussing here in the Big Sky. And the other problem is that North Dakota is not in the Big Sky. North Dakota's in the
Yeah,
Summit League, Greg. So
yeah, yeah. They're
I
in the Summit
was
League.
I was so excited about this game, I want to jump ahead to it. So breaking story here. We'll come back to it. Let's start the show over.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Maybe we should just start over. Oh, for God's
They
sake.
were in the Big Sky for a minute, weren't they? Maybe not.
Were they?
Uh,
They were. I can't remember. It seems like I would remember that. They weren't always in the Summit League though. So anyway, the teams that are currently in the Big Sky.
All
Oh,
right, it's been a long week. Leave me alone.
yeah.
Go ahead.
To be fair, it has. Um, like who? Again, I don't really see anybody that I like other than maybe the Montana schools and Montana State. After I talked about them last week, not coming through a whole lot this past week,
Uh,
losing
uh,
to
I'm,
USC pretty badly, very badly.
I might be ready to start talking this Northern Colorado team. They beat Air Force. Now, it was a front range game, so that makes
Yeah,
it extra difficult to win. And it was a win over a non under the radar school, albeit Air Force.
yeah.
But maybe that's enough to get Northern Colorado turned around here, even though they're only
Yeah,
4-5 versus D1.
right. And if you pull them up, they probably have outperformed everybody else in the league because if you look at some of these losses that they've had, Texas Tech. Wazoo, that is a very, very good Wazoo team. I don't know what's taking the voters so long to realize it, but that overtime loss at Colorado and then North Dakota State, not easy to win there. And when you look at those four losses, Chad, I think a lot of teams, even from power leagues, maybe most of the teams from power leagues that aren't inside the bubble, would have also lost all four of those. Those were four tough road games.
And the Colorado double overtime front
Yeah,
range game. A lot going into that game.
yeah.
Game at Denver coming up a couple days from now, and before they jump into conference play. So
Hmm.
uh, they're the team I think I'm going to keep my biggest eye on heading into conference play, though.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm back on with Northern Colorado, at least in relation to the rest of the Big Sky. And my God, is some of the teams at the bottom of this league miserable.
Uh, Rest of the upcoming schedule here, we mentioned that Northern Colorado Denver game. Keep an eye on this Montana at San Francisco game. I don't think Montana can win there, but if they do, we're going to pay a lot of attention to Montana.
Hmm.
Also give a look on eye on Montana State at TCU. TCU has been a little bit vulnerable this year.
Yeah.
So
So a big week for them and some perhaps winnable scalps on the road against non under the radar teams.
over in the Big South Conference, High Point still remains the story here. I think they are way better than everybody. They keep
Do
a
you really? Okay.
win over Appalachian State, and then they took down Carolina on Tuesday night, right there, 99 to 31 over Carolina. Griggs, how
Yeah,
can you
over
not love
North
this
Carolina.
team?
Well, North Carolina's been, I mean, the Tar Heels have been a little bit down lately. So, but that is
Carolina,
still
you.
impressive. 99-31, just a huge margin for victory there. Does anything about High Point give you pause that they seem a bit like a little bit of a home court hero? Like they've got a lot, they've been putting a lot of money into athletics and they've been playing a lot of games at home, whereas a lot of the rest of the league has gone out and played. There's a lot of tier four there at home.
Well, there's some neutral stuff here, including App State, who they just beat recently.
Hmm.
They were in that game with Greensboro, only lost it by 4. You want to
Yeah.
find out about them on the road at Southern Illinois coming up in a couple days here. I think that's a good non-conference road test before you get into
Yeah.
conference play. But
That's a good
yeah,
one.
but even if I have pause, Griggs, my problem is I look at the rest of the league. I don't see anybody there. I don't see anybody. Longwood,
Yeah.
okay. Radford,
Well, what
okay.
about Rad? I mean, if I had to pick a second one that might be able to keep pace with High Point, I would think it would be Radford.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we'll see. I really just think at the end of the day, High Point is a High Point's conference, and
it
this
is.
might be this might be the conference where High Point just rolls the regular season, takes the conference title and tournament title, and that's it.
Hmm.
That's kind of my feeling of the Big South so far this year,
Yeah.
at least. There's the rest of the upcoming schedule. Radford at South Carolina Sunday.
Hmm. And that's a good. I mean, I think they're over their heads in that one. South Carolina's suddenly coming to life.
Uh, Over in the Big West Conference, and this is a conference that was our feature conference last week, and
Yeah.
well, we've got a couple stories to discuss here. In addition to UC Irvine, who had the tough loss against Oregon State, uh,
Yeah.
but but the big story here is UC San Diego going on Sunday and winning at Idaho, but even more importantly, just last night goes to an undefeated Utah State team on the road, picks up the win. Griggs, I am all in on the Tritons this year. This is the team. I love this Irvine team,
Oh,
but
I'm
but
with
but
you.
I love this San Diego team. And let me ask you the question: could we have a two-bid Big West?
Yes. I think the answer to that is yes. And I mean, we'll look at a couple teams, but let's start by pulling up those two. A lot of the news today, if you were on social media, a lot of the buzz, I don't know if it's the thing with time zones, was Drake's win against Kansas State. And that was a good one. We're going to talk all about that. This one got less attention, even though it was far more impressive. Utah State objectively better than K-State in just about every way you could measure them. And UC San Diego went onto their floor. It was not a neutral site and beat them on their floor. And I know they're not under the radar, Chad, but Utah State does not lose often at home, ever. And that was such a massive win. That it's a tier one win. I think it will remain a tier one win. They also won at Santa Barbara. There is that head
Not
scratching
only
home
not
loss.
only tier one, it's actually tier 1A. It's above that line, the top
Yeah. And
half
I
of
think
tier
it
one.
will be.
It could stay up there even. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it will be. But the loss to San Diego State, suddenly you're starting to think that wasn't just an anomaly where it was a rivalry first game of the year type deal. They are that good. I think that like they can play with a top 40 team and a top 25 team and not only play with them, but do it away from home. This San Diego team is for real. I think that's a tournament resume now.
Yeah. And I mean, they will have one more D1 non-conference game at San Diego coming up here, which is
Yeah.
another local rival there. But they're going to have a few shots at conference because you do have Irvine in here with good numbers. Cal State Northridge has good numbers so far.
Yeah.
We expect Santa Barbara's numbers to get better as the
Yeah,
season goes along,
I
even.
think they will. There's a lot of good teams in this conference. Cal Poly, I mean, even the bottom of the league is playing at a higher level than what it normally does. And I think collectively, if these two can continue to, hold serve against most of the rest of the league, which is easier said than done, I think it is a two-bid Big West. I think they can both get in there. Now, had Irvine beaten Oregon State at Oregon State, which they did not, I we that would really be something. But Irvine's done a lot. Irvine's good.
Irvine is very good. I agree with you. Irvine has a fascinating game coming up tomorrow night.
Yeah,
They're at Belmont.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, cross country trip here again against a pretty good Belmont team.
That that
Uh,
that plays very well at home, and that should help the metrics. And if the committee is looking at this like they're supposed to be, and they probably are, that's a game that they can get a lot of credit for winning.
Also could help some of the conference metrics. Hawaii hosting the Diamond Head.
Hmm.
If Hawaii can get a couple wins on their home court there, that
Yeah.
could help boost conference metrics because they'll get wins over some pretty good teams that are in that event.
Yeah. But no, I think that this is I absolutely think it can happen. It's a two bid Big West. And like when I say two, it wouldn't shock me if both those teams were inside the bubble or right on it.
Right. So it doesn't matter which one wins the conference tournament.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes you talk two bids. There's one great team, but somebody steals the bid in the conference
Hmm.
tournament.
I think it could be both of them.
A lot of season to play, though.
Yeah,
I'll
and
concede
there is a
that.
lot of season to play, and I know this isn't the show for it, but I think we're going to come to realize how good Oregon State is too.
Over in the coastal, first of all, Hampton, as we've mentioned a couple
Hampton
times
first
already,
place.
still in
Wow.
first place, and they'll get another week or so of that too. But
Yeah.
the real story, and we actually talked about this Elon team. They've got the best net in the conference, but I think College and Charleston's the best team in this conference, Griggs.
Yeah, I think so too. A nice week for them. There
They beat
have been
Wofford,
time,
yeah.
yeah. There have been times to where you feel like they've underperformed a little bit or not been as impressive. But at the end of the day, when you're saying they've underperformed and not been as impressive, and they're 8-2 overall, and they've got the WAB of 77, the wins against the board. This really is a good team. I do think that they're going to continue to get better. I like them more than anyone else. And if I'm looking for a second team, it's probably I know
For me,
Rocco.
it's Elon right now. I'm with Rocco on
Yeah,
this
you
Elon
like
team.
a line. What about Northeastern? They've started to come on a little bit. I know Rocco is big on them.
Griggs, there's a number here. Strength, not strength of schedule, 359. They haven't played anybody. I get that they're winning games, but
Yeah.
I mean, they just lost the game to UMass tonight.
Oh,
We know
bad
how bad
timing to
UMass
bring that
is.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
we know how
Yes.
bad UMass
We
is.
need to go back and edit that out of the
Alon
show.
also did lose tonight. Uh, they lost to East Tennessee State, but East Tennessee State, I think, is a little bit better than you.
Well,
It's
a
better than
little.
UMass, honestly.
They're categorically better than UMass.
Upcoming games this week here. College of Charleston's schedule is in the Diamond Head. Everyone's in the
Yeah,
Diamond Head, it
they're out in
seems.
the
Every
Diamond
single
Head, and
conference I'm talking to somebody in the Diamond Head.
yeah, that is a live wire Oregon State team. I think that that's a chance for Oregon State to maybe break out. But if Charleston beats them, I am even more all in on them than I am already.
and they beat them, they may get Loyola Chicago in the next round, uh,
Hmm.
and then possibly a team like a Nebraska or a Murray State to finish it off. So hey,
Yeah,
it'll be real interesting here on Diamond Head.
right. And Charleston has experience in in-season tournaments already. So,
Um, Conference USA.
okay,
Which,
yeah.
well, first of all, Conference USA WAC Challenge still going on. I believe there are two more games to go here still. It's a total of 18 games of that event. Uh,
Hmm.
it's USA crushing the WAC. It's not even funny anymore at this point. It's 12 to
Yeah,
4. Not quite SEC ACC numbers, but pretty darn close.
yeah, and the team, the league is playing at a higher level than what we've seen since probably it was not an under the radar league. Liberty is, I think, a team that's going to be inside the bubble. And what about Louisiana Tech? I mean, they did have that loss at Memphis, and I know that that was an opportunity that you would need for them to really make a statement, but I still really like that team.
Louisiana Tech.
Yes,
Yeah, well, they beat Grand Canyon this week, albeit at
they
home, but they
did.
beat the
Yeah.
Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon's a team that we've been talking up all season as one of the top under the radar teams. So I think that that is big. And I think
Yeah.
there's also strength down this conference. You look at some of the teams like Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think Kennesaw has their win over
Even
Rutgers.
Kennesaw. Yeah. Kennesaw is the win over Rutgers. UTEP has held serve. Even New Mexico State going on the road and beating the Lobos.
Yep. So I think there's a lot to like about the CUSA. I don't know that I'm going to say this is definitely a two-bid league, but if Liberty or Louisiana Tech can really run away with this conference regular season,
Mhm.
there's a chance for multiple bids out of this
Oh,
conference.
I agree. Let's look at Liberty because they're the ones that sort of, well, we'll look at them in Louisiana Tech. And again, we don't have our bracket guessing committee experts here. The win against McNeese, I don't know how much credit they're going to get for that. I do think McNeese is going to finish with a bloated record and they'll get some, but McNeese perhaps not quite as good as we thought coming in. And the win against college at Charleston, that those are two really good wins. They also beat Kansas State. I don't
I like Liberty
is there
profile.
enough here?
The,
Are there enough opportunities? Like,
the problem with Louisiana Tech on the right there is that Southern home loss is going to weigh them down all season. If they're on the border, that may keep
mhm,
them out. Uh, I think
yeah.
there's a lot to like here. One more non-conference game against Texas Arlington at home. They should win that. It comes down to
Yeah.
how well they can play in the conference play.
Yeah, and by having to play well, I mean they have to run roughshod over it and not lose to anyone but each other, I think. And
Yeah.
that's not going to be easy to do in a league that's a little bit better. But I I would say this in like this is more of a question for Tytel or Rocco or Joby or we have some very good committee guessing experts in our orbit here. Do you think I'll just ask you, Chad, is there enough there for a bid?
I think there is,
Yeah.
but they've got to pick up the volume of wins now.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, honestly, if they do the old road exchange program with Louisiana Tech, that'd be better. If they split with Louisiana Tech, each team wins at home, not
Yeah.
as good as if you split with them and each team wins on the road because you could pick
Wow.
up a road win against La Tech is even more
Yeah.
important, I think. That
Man,
might be a
man,
huge that game January 11th could be huge for their season.
yeah. That's a reference to the early years of Under the Radar. That was the Wichita State Creighton when they were under the radar teams. We called it the Road Win Exchange Program because neither one of them could beat the other at home.
But it's actually better for your profile
Yeah,
because you have a
it's
road
better
win.
than their profile. Yeah.
Uh, quick look at the upcoming schedule for this week here. Liberty's games are, where are they? They're hosting Texas Arlington, like we mentioned. La Tech. They're hosting somebody named Rust.
Okay, and this is another thing. You can't schedule crap like that. Come on.
Uh, UTEP, who's had a little bit of life, they're hosting their Sun Bowl event. They're going to be either Akron or Yale in probably going to be the championship game after they beat Jackson
Yeah.
State. That could be a
Yeah.
decent
And
game worth tuning in for.
yeah, UTEP has shown some life, so a lot of teams in this conference have.
Middle Tennessee at Tennessee Monday night, Griggs. What do you think?
Um, that Tennessee wins by about 40. I like middle quite a bit, but Tennessee is ridiculously good.
We were talking about Horizon League. How about jumping over to the Ivy League, where, wow, rough week for the Ivy League, Griggs. It
Yeah.
failed to pick up a win in the entire past week here. Dartmouth went 0-2, and that's it.
Just so disappointing. After having such a strong start to just lose every single game in a week.
So, anything else you want to know about the Ivy League? We talked about it last week. Nothing else has changed.
Yeah.
I think we can just wait to the upcoming
Oh,
schedule.
we do
Uh,
have some Ivy League news. There is Ivy League news.
what on the
Um,
football side of things?
oh yeah, it's on the football side of things, so we won't mention it. But they will be partaking in the FCS playoffs. They will actually be accepting the bid. They'll be filling out the paperwork this summer. They're taking their automatic bid.
Right. Yale Akron on Friday night. Maybe we're turning to Vermont at Dartmouth. Columbia is still off for their break. Brown at Kansas on Sunday.
Yeah, Brown getting a nice paycheck, I hope. Penn going to George Mason. That would be an interesting game if Penn was any good, but they're not.
Let's jump over to the Metro Atlantic, where
Oof.
I've been talking. I still like this Marist team. They picked up a win at Stony Brook.
Yeah,
I they did get the 2-0 start in the early conference play. That they're my
yeah.
team right now, Griggs.
Yeah, this conference is fun once it gets started. Until it gets started, it's hard to latch on to anyone. But I get Marist has certainly, I think, outperformed everybody else so far. I want to be a believer in Quinnipiac. They did win their first couple of conference games, but
Home loss to Holy Cross last night did
yeah,
not
yeah,
help,
well,
believe it or not.
I mean, they followed that up by losing to Holy Cross. Uh, some great, I mean, it's hard to not love this league. But God, it's bad this year.
Marist is hosting UMBC Saturday. Quinnipiac at Central Connecticut on Saturday. That might be one worth circling a little bit here, Griggs.
It kind of is two Connecticut-based teams. Central Connecticut, we're going to talk about them. Actually, a pretty decent team. One of the better teams we've seen out of the NEC, at least during the regular season in a while, I think.
And also Saturday, a little Western New York Big Four there, Niagara at St. Bonaventure. Don't That's
Yeah.
always a fun
God, the
game
Bonnies are
there.
having a good year. Another team
Mhm.
that needs more attention, but they're not under the radar.
Let's go. You know what? The final score here that we missed was just by the way, uh we just did lose to Loyola Chicago today. I'll give a quick update there on the scoreboard. But
Yeah.
uh over in the Mid-American Conference, the conference did not have a good week this week. A lot of
No.
red there on the screen. And as far in terms of D1 wins, it's
Yeah. How about Youngstown
yeah.
State? A big win over Toledo for Youngstown. I know we talked about them, but now that we're talking about the Mid-American, that's a disappointing loss for the Rockets.
I mean, only thing I can say about this conference is Kent State, who is the team that I've been circling in this league.
Hmm.
They did win their only game this week. They beat Mercyhurst at home. And not that it moves the
Yeah.
needle on this team, but I do like this Kent team, and I think that they're starting to pull away early season. In terms of showing that they're the best, although they
Hmm.
don't. I mean, I don't think there's anything near an at-large profile or
Oh,
anything like
I
that here.
agree with that, and I don't. It'll be interesting to see how they do against Alabama. I mean, I know they're probably not
Good
going to
luck.
win. Yeah, a team
Especially
that's
because Alabama is losing on the road at halftime right now to North Dakota by 3 points, and if Alabama's going to be pretty damn pissed off if they lose this game.
yeah. So a team to keep an eye on. I think they were a team that we liked coming into the season that was had been disappointing, but that's starting to pick it up and maybe look the way that we thought they were going to. What keep an eye on Ohio U.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll pull them up here on the right. There they are.
yeah,
I mean, Briggs, they haven't shown. They've got
well,
five tier three losses.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
as I said, they were a little bit late out of the gate.
I haven't seen anything out of them. Now you get a clean slate, kind of with a lot of these leagues when you go into conference play. So who knows? But
Hmm.
uh, let's see here. Coming up this week, Kent is they off for the holidays. It looks like they're off for the holidays.
Oh, they're
Uh,
just shutting down their season.
okay, shut down the
Disappointing.
season. Oh, they're
Yeah,
at Alabama on Sunday. I'm sorry, we forgot about.
yeah.
We mentioned that one already. Um, over in the um, we've got the MEAC.
Yeah. Norfolk State still, I think, the team to beat in this conference. Some of the
They
teams
gave Northern Kentucky a game over the weekend. It was close for
they
a while
did.
in that game, but Northern Kentucky did pick up the win. Yeah.
Yeah, and NC Central beating Longwood. Longwood, albeit they've played a weak schedule, but had a bloated record. Howard getting a nice win over Wilmington. Eastern Shore, well, I mean, the fact that they're beating anyone is kind of remarkable.
Still zero D1 wins for Eastern Shore,
Yeah, but
Griggs.
still zero D1 wins. SC State getting the win at Upstate. Again, a very weak Upstate team, but uh, not a bad week for the MEAC, which again is very Dayton-esque a lot of the time. You start to see teams, nobody with a winning record, but all the schools but two, one of which is Eastern Shore, who never beats anybody D1, managing multiple D1 wins. I know that this is going to sound like faint praise or a backhanded compliment, but the MEAC performing better, Chad, wouldn't you say, than what it typically does?
It's not bad. There's a fair amount of I mean, multiple D1 wins for everybody other than those bottom two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm there. I think I've seen a little more life out of this conference than normal. Um, and let's see here, South Carolina State just today with a win at USC Upstate.
Yeah.
I guess that's an in-state rivalry.
Yeah, they played late this afternoon or something. Like I don't know what kind of a game it was, but yeah, they went there and they beat Upstate. I mean, good for them.
Here's the upcoming game, and this is the Chris Paul HBCU Challenge coming up tomorrow night. Norfolk State, Alabama State, followed by Delaware State, Grambling,
Grambling, yeah,
and then the two teams play again on Friday, just
yeah.
reversing opponents. So,
That's a fun event. I think that those are the one thing I like about this is we'll get to the SWAC in a minute. Of those four teams that are participating, three are a lot of fun to watch, and Delaware State there too, Chad.
yeah, Delaware State is there as well. Okay, let's just move right on here. Missouri Valley Conference, and
Yes.
only undefeated under the radar school Drake. If they crack the top 25, which is possible that they could next week, following their win at K-State the other night,
Hmm.
they won't be under the radar anymore. We'll be discussing them during our Hoops HD reports, but for now they are here. And what about the Drake Bulldogs?
Yeah, we got to pull them up. We'll talk a little bit of Bradley too, who's trying to hold on. Every time it looks like they have the game put away against San Francisco, we've got it on as we're recording this. San Francisco hits a ridiculous shot, but you look at Drake here, and you don't have the home run tier one win, but you have a lot of really good wins at the tier two and tier three level. Bandy, FAU, and then at Kansas State. That game was in Kansas City, but I guess I thought it was a neutral floor game. It was a
The,
K-State home game. They by the way the NCAA defines a home game.
Yeah, so just for the record here, when it says versus on the screen here, there's a neutral. Ad is a road game,
Yeah.
and we are taking this data straight from the NCAA. So
Yes, and
NCAA for now is calling that a road game.
well, it is a road game. The way the NCAA defines who's home and who's road is not actually the location. Not many people know this. It's who manages the event and manages the tickets. It was a K-State home game, even though it was in Kansas City. But the committee is going to treat it like it was played in Kansas City. But
And
what
Drake
is,
gets Drake gets a non D1 game next too on the
yeah,
21st
if
here.
Drake loses to Green Bay, I'm taking everything back I've ever said that was nice about them. Um, The one thing about this game coming up is you have coaches that have never coached at the D1 level, players that didn't get D1 offers and weren't D1 players a year ago. And you could say the same about Drake, Chad. The, oh, I was talking about Green Bay.
Oh.
Coaches that don't coach at anyway. It was a
Oh.
little funny. Come on. All right. But anyways,
Bradley's on the right there. Do you have a
yeah.
score update for us right now? They're playing
It
San
is
Francisco.
61-59 with about 30 seconds to go, or 36 seconds. Bradley just hit a free throw to go up two or up three, but Bradley doesn't quite have the paper that Drake has. This would probably be their best win of the year to date if they pull
Definitely
it
would be.
off. And other than that, they would have to rely on trying to get a big conference record and probably beating Drake at some point to pull themselves inside the bubble. I do think this is a very good Bradley team. What they've done isn't quite as impressive as what Drake has done. Uh, I,
I think
I,
there's that there are chances. I think in conference, Murray State, I think is
yeah,
look like a pretty good team. Belmont's a pretty good team, and Northern Iowa is a team we loved heading into the season, and I think they are starting to play really well right now.
they
The
are.
Northern Iowa team, I think they are going to be very dangerous as we go forward.
Yeah, it took them a second to wake up. They've got a huge game coming up against a very good Washington State team. And that is a dangerous game for Wazoo. As you mentioned, Northern Iowa, Ben Jacobson trying to come to life here. So this is going to be a tough conference. It always is, but this is going to be a tough conference to just run away from. I know Indiana State kind of did it a year ago, but there have been years where we've seen teams inside the bubble, sometimes way inside the bubble, that didn't just run roughshod over this league.
Great. Um,
Yeah,
the rest of the upcoming schedule for this week here in the conference, I think we've talked about most of the notable games, although Belmont hosting UC Irvine Thursday night. We discussed that one earlier. Green Bay at Drake,
yeah,
Northern Iowa, Washington State, Murray State,
yeah.
Nebraska. The Murray State, another team out there in the Diamond Head.
And the Diamond Head,
I think
that's
that's
a
about the 15th team that's in the Diamond Head this week.
yeah, a good field, good under the radar. So,
Uh, Northeast Conference time. Those
okay.
red teams are not eligible for the NCAA tournament, but regardless of who's red and who's not, Central Connecticut is the story. A nice road win at Fairfield this week.
Yeah, and if you
Tonight,
pull
actually.
them up, they're 7-4, and they've done quite a bit away from home.
They won at
The,
St. Joe's. They
the
won at
win at
Holy
St.
Cross, at
Joe's, yeah,
UMass.
yeah, in Fairfield. So that's their fourth true road win and a perfect record on the road against the Atlantic 10, albeit one of those teams was UMass. They were competitive at
And
Rhode
now they're
Island.
great, 'cause they lost at Rhode Island. Rhode Island is in the A10.
Yeah, but they were perfect against UMass and St. Joe's.
Oh, okay. It's our brother. Go ahead. Whatever you want to
Yeah.
say.
But very competitive against Providence and Rhode Island in two of their losses. So this is a team. I think that they're better than anyone we've seen, at least during the regular season from this conference in quite some time.
Well, okay, regular season. Okay, I was going to say there was a little bit of a Fairleigh Dickinson story a couple of
Yeah,
years ago that you don't want to forget about. But in
right.
terms of regular season, yeah, they are looking pretty good so far. Um, and I think they should head into conference play as the favorite to win this conference.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I think that's a given.
That they've got the game with the Quinnipiac. We mentioned that game already. Chicago State at Grand Canyon tomorrow night.
Yeah, a
No,
very old, like, is this a throwback to the Great West Conference? A big
throw back
rivalry.
to the old with the WAC rivalry for a little while. I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So a
remember the
lot of
great.
bad blood between Grand Canyon and Chicago State, two schools that are they have so much in common when you think about what they're like institutionally and what their basketball programs are
And
like.
over in the Ohio Valley Conference. First of all, congrats to Western Illinois, off to the only conference game that's gone final so far. They are in first place in the conference,
Yeah,
um,
kind of a
which
wild
is
finish.
more than you can say about anybody else in this league. But go ahead.
Yeah, top to bottom, just a disappointing league. No one with a better than 500 record in against D1 opponents so far. SIUE, they've had some moments, but they've also had some hours where they've had moments of being good and hours of not being good. Little Rock's still a really big disappointment overall. If I'm looking for a bright spot here, um,
Good,
Dayton
good,
is lovely in March. I guess
yeah,
that's my
good luck. First, the D1 records, nobody's over 500.
yeah.
And that's not a good sign non-conference.
No.
The only good sign for these teams is we are about to seriously get into conference play starting tomorrow night.
Yes,
And I think that non-conference is done here. This is all the way
it is.
correct.
There's a few teams with some non-conference games remaining that they'll get sandwiched in between conference play. The one thing I will say is that the league has been collectively so bad that it might actually be exciting once they start playing against each other. I still kind of like SIUE. I still like it's a chance for Little Rock to maybe bounce back and redeem themselves. Um, God, this league used to be so good. Uh,
Little Rock is still gonna be my pick because they were my preseason pick, and nobody showed me anything in non-conference play. So
yeah, I agree with you.
I'm not gonna change my pick with that.
hmm Yeah,
Uh,
I'm with you on that one.
Patriot League, down there in the bottom of the standings is Colgate, though they did finally get a decent non-conference win with the win over Vermont over the weekend. And we just highlight them because they always seem to win this conference, and I think they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
I like the way American has played a little bit so far, not a lot, a little bit. Um, I think we've seen a little bit of life out of a couple other teams here, but we just can't write off Colgate until they're actually eliminated, I think.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of where I am with it too.
All right. Well, let's just move on then. Quick
Yeah.
look at the upcoming schedule in the Patriot League. We'll fly right through here. Colgate is going to be hosting Iona on Sunday. Bucknell's traveling to Gonzaga. What do you think, Griggs?
I hope that I mean, Western Washington is lovely this time of year.
You want to circle a potential upset alert game. Keep an eye on Sunday, American at Virginia. Americans had a little life in this conference. Virginia
Yeah.
has not looked good so far this year. Uh,
Yeah, normally I would say Virginia's not brain dead enough to overlook American, but they may be now.
Over in the SoCon, where the story has been Furman after the great 11-1 start so far in the season. They
Yeah.
beat Montreal tonight. Not that that did anything, but
hmm
I think there is some other life in this conference. Samford's looking
I,
really good. We
I'm
still think
actually
Chattanooga's dangerous. Go ahead.
I'm actually starting to like Sanford as much and maybe slightly more than Furman. When you look at their whole body of work, and I know that that's how the committee evaluates Furman probably a little better. When you look at how Sanford just seems to keep getting better and better and better, I think that Sanford can win this conference again. Now, Sanford, a bit of a tough game coming up tomorrow. Uh,
Tonight, it's going on right now.
or tonight, excuse me.
Can you get us a score update? I'll see if we can get one.
Yeah, but or hasn't even tipped. But like you start to look at that, and I just yeah, they're entering a stretch where three of their next four are on the road, but two of those are pretty winnable. Tonight's kind of a push. I just like how Sanford's been playing.
Right now, as we record this, Sanford is down 56-33 at Arizona at halftime.
Okay.
A little over their heads here.
Yeah, they are over their
I
heads
think
in that
Bradley
one.
did hold on for that win, by the way, over San Francisco. We're correct.
They did. Yeah, they did. So a really nice win for Bradley. But Furman, they had there's some pretty good stuff there. The Princeton win had me excited at the time that it happened. Now but again, we have our questions about Princeton that we talked about earlier when we looked at the Ivy League. The win at Belmont is nice, and they actually kind of were not competitive at all in that Kansas game, but again, just way over their heads. I like both these teams. When I say that I like Samford more. It's not by a whole lot more, but I do think that when you look at the rest of the league, these are clearly the two best,
Well,
at
that's
least
what
from
I
what
say.
I've seen.
But you see, I think the East Tennessee State, especially with the win over Alon tonight, I think there's some life there. I think UNC Greensboro is going to be heard from. I think that Chattanooga is going to be heard from in this conference. I think there is a little more life in this conference than you're giving it credit for, Greg. So I think this could be an interesting, which is also going to mean I don't think there's really going to be any shot for an at-large bid out of this league because I think these teams will knock each other off too many times.
You're probably right. If Furman or Samford blows through the league and ends up with a like 27, 28 wins, maybe they're inside the bubble, but anything short of that.
There's the rest of the upcoming schedule.
Yeah,
Samford
that
at
there's
Alabama
Greensboro at
A&M.
Elon coming up.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's a good one. VMI at Richmond.
yeah.
Chattanooga at Chattanooga at Indiana. Circled that game actually.
Yeah.
Indiana needs to be on upset alert for that one, I think.
Yeah, Indiana just needs to be on alert, period.
Over in the Southland Conference, aka one of the most disappointing stories in the season, with
Yes.
McNeese sitting here at 3-5 versus D1, when we thought there was a chance they may have been able to be undefeated at this point of the season heading into the year.
Yes. Yeah, and I know that one of the losses was to Alabama and that they've played some other decent under the radar teams, but this was a team that we thought would um
They played well
probably
against Mississippi State over the weekend. They did play well, but at the end of the day, they lost the
yeah.
game.
Right. And I know that's what we always say. It's like, well, those games are hard to win. Well, if you're a team that's inside, it's hard to get inside the bubble. And in order to do it, you have to win games that are hard to win. McNeese just hasn't. They're good. I think they're better than everyone else in the league. It wouldn't shock me at all if they just ran roughshod over the league. But are you
Well,
with me on this? Yeah.
let
One
me
of their
tell
wins
you,
better be that last one.
but I'm there. But I think I'm starting to pay a little attention to Lamar here. Um, I mean, we've
Okay.
seen a little bit of life at times this season out of UTRGV, out of Corpus Christi. Lamar gets two road wins this week at Louisiana and at Southern Miss.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know that McNeese, the way they've played so far this season, is going to run through this conference. I
Yeah,
think
and
McNeese could may not even win the conference regular season title. Now they do get to host the
ooh,
conference tournament no matter what, but
yeah.
this could be a battle this season with a couple of these other teams.
Yeah, and UTRGV has had some impressive moments, very impressive moments. So, you're certainly right about that. Um, but if McNeese wants into the tournament, they better win that last conference tournament game.
Absolutely, I do agree with you there. This is a one bid league no matter what. Uh,
Yeah.
rest of the ongoing games here. Nichols is at Gonzaga right now. Greg, you got a score update for us?
I no, but my sources are telling me it's Gonzaga by quite a bit.
Let's see if we can confirm that while you fill in and discuss something.
Okay. Um,
That's
Houston
anything.
Christian, if they took throwback uniforms into consideration, and I don't know why the committee doesn't, Houston Christian would at least be on the bubble. If you haven't seen their old throwback uniforms, you need to Google it. They look
By the way,
amazing.
Nichols down 15 in the second half to Gonzaga.
It's actually closer than what I would have guessed.
Uh, here we go. Over in the SWAC, where
Oof.
it's yeah, I mean, not a good week. Till tonight. Let's give a shout out to Bethune-Cookman. Went to South Florida, went across state there to South Florida and picked up a win. So,
A
uh,
really nice win for Cookman, a really big surprise. I mean, they'd really struggled before that. When you look at teams that have shown some impressive efforts, you've seen Alabama State with some good showings. Grambling's been tough. They don't have a
Southern.
D1 again. Yeah, Southern's been certainly tough. And but it's just hard to praise a conference when all you can say about them is they've played well in games that they didn't win
Well, look at this. You have
over
the
and over.
top three strength of schedule in the entire nation are all in the same conference. This conference
Right.
just they just do buy games. Other than Alabama A&M, who has not been doing buy games this year, the
Yeah.
rest of the league does buy games.
And
Uh,
it's been a point of contention among, you know, it's like, are you even taking the sport seriously when all you do is go in cash paychecks? But uh, I don't know. Is it too many? I understand the economics and the realities of the situation, but I don't think they need to play 8 and 10 like some of them play. I think they're
well,
just choosing to do that.
other than those that HBCU Challenge Series tomorrow and Friday, that's what you got is a ton more buy games here on the schedule when you look ahead.
Yeah,
It's not going to be. Well, I guess Jackson State playing in this Sun Bowl Invitational is not quite a with UTEP Akron Yale not quite buy, but I don't expect them to do
yeah.
anything. Um, let's just jump right ahead. Now we could talk a little Summit League action where North Dakota, as we record this in the second half, is giving Alabama a game, Griggs, and this is 313 net North Dakota right now. Now I don't expect the score to hold, but and I do give Alabama credit for going to North Dakota to play a true road game. Good
Yeah,
for them.
what is happening is just beyond comprehension. If it were North Dakota State, South Dakota State, some of the teams that have shown stronger signs of life, it would still be noteworthy, but not as noteworthy as this. A packed house in there, a really electric crowd. North Dakota, not good. We've not really spent a lot of time with them, even on this show. But tonight, it's been a hell of a 30 minutes against Alabama so far.
Yeah. As far as the rest of the conference here, North Dakota State picked up a win over Western Michigan. Kansas City beat Bowling Green. Uh, I mean,
Hmm.
North Dakota just lost at home to UTSA over the weekend. So
Yeah, not the
that,
best. Who do you like in this league? I still like South Dakota State.
I like South Dakota State. Remember, Kansas City was our pick preseason, and they had really struggled.
Yeah.
They went, not only did they beat Bowling Green at home, they turned around just last night. They went to Wichita State and picked up a win.
Oh,
And maybe
that
this team
one
is
was
actually turning
really
things around here.
surprising. Yeah, that was really surprising.
Well, it doesn't surprise me if Kansas City was the team that we thought they'd be. They just haven't shown it at all this season. But
Right.
this is them getting ready to get into conference play. They could be a force as we get into conference play here.
Hmm.
Uh,
Right.
there's the rest of the upcoming schedule. What do you think about Friday night South Dakota Mines at North Dakota game, Griggs? I mean, only
I
only
can't
two
wait for
days
that.
rest coming off of the Alabama game here.
Yeah,
Which they are.
somehow I don't think they're going to have the same kind of crowd at that game, but we'll see. South Dakota, the Mines.
South Dakota Mines.
Oh, oh, God.
Let's keep
That
rolling
that
along
is
here. Let's
off the radar. That's not just under it.
Sun Belt Conference, and this is a team that I absolutely love here. This Arkansas State team
Yeah.
went we Texas Arlington. You want to talk a little bit about what happened in their game at UAB?
Yeah, so they also have a win at Memphis.
Yes,
So um it was just kind of disappointing. UAB, a decent team. You don't want to you know to take anything away from them, but I mean I was watching it, Chad, and Arkansas State, who I thought was a team that had a lot of potential and maybe would have been able to win that game, down 28 in the second half, and I just turned it off.
yes, and there's the final score, 98-89 overtime win by Arkansas State. Incredible
Yeah.
comeback, absolutely amazing comeback. Uh,
Yeah,
and I like this team a lot here.
the win
I'll pull them up.
probability from for those that track it at one point in the game was 99.3% UAB winning it. Like you could basically just shut it down, but somehow they came back. It was ridiculous. We were on the group chats. I think my phone almost exploded. Everybody was yelling, "Oh my God." And you what does UAB not under the radar? Should they be after that?
Yeah, but there's Arkansas State. All that's left is conference play here. While I like this team a lot, I think that Memphis win is going to carry a while here. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know that they have a shot to get inside the bubble, absent, just rolling through this league. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
tough places to play in this league. I don't know that you could do it.
Right. I don't know if how much Rice is in Hofstra are going to sink. The Hofstra has really struggled, but they might it might not be too much of an anchor if they can if they can blow not blow through, but well, no, they pretty much have to blow through the
Blow
Sun
through. I'm,
Belt.
I'm talking no more than two losses.
Yeah. And are they good enough to do that? I don't know.
I don't know because I think Texas State has a good team. I think Troy has a good team. I think
Troy
App
does
State
have a good team.
has a
Yeah.
decent team. I think James Madison could be heard from this
Yeah,
season. So there's
in even James Madison certainly not as good as they were a year ago, but it's still hard to go there and win. It's hard to go to Marshall and win. It's hard to go to App State and win. I mean, these are just not easy places to go on the road and win.
And
And
didn't
to have
South
to,
Alabama
yeah,
just beat somebody recently?
they
I'm
did.
blanking on
Yeah,
who they beat. Let's pull them up real quickly.
yeah,
Did they beat somebody? They played a close. They played a close game at TCU. They did lose at the end, but
yeah.
they're right
They
there
were
with
ahead
TCU.
for a lot of that game, but they
Yeah.
did end up losing.
Uh, Upcoming schedule here for the Sun Belt teams. Uh, Most teams with just one game this weekend. It is beginning of conference play. Arkansas State starts off with Coastal Carolina at home, a game they
Hmm.
better win.
Yeah, they should win that one. Coastal, not
Uh,
the best road team.
Last regular conference here, it's the WAC, and uh, I want to talk a little bit about this Grand Canyon team because with that loss to Georgia and the loss to Louisiana Tech, well, I
Hmm.
think this is a great team here. I think this is a dangerous team here that the Lopes have. I think that, like we said, a few other teams, they better win that last game. They better win that conference tournament at this point.
I'm with you. And what we said last week was that the Lopes needed to win both of them. But they certainly needed to win at least one of them. And we thought they were good enough to win both of them. Georgia and La Tech, those are not easy games to win. But what do we always say? Is getting inside the bubble easy? No. And what do you have to do it? You have to win games that are hard to win. And they just haven't. And when you look at this profile, Chad, this is a very talented team. It's a potentially very dangerous team once they get to the round of 64 if they happen to win the auto bid. That is not a tournament resume.
It's not, I don't know that, I don't think you can get there. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe you literally win out every single game until the conference title game, but
yeah.
that's a tall order here. And a conference that has a couple of dangerous teams. Seattle, I think, will be heard from in this conference. You know, maybe
What about Southern
Abilene.
Utah making? I mean, I know that it's against a horrendous schedule, but like,
I
making
don't think
some noise.
I don't think Southern Utah going to be at the end of the day brings up
Yeah,
not
but it's
gonna.
fun to see them up there now. It's a little beehive
It
team.
is, it is, it is. Here's the rest of the upcoming schedule. The Lopes hosting Chicago State. They win that game. And then they host
Yeah,
St. Louis in a game that we probably would have been highlighted as a huge game for them,
St.
but
Louis
I don't think it's
is disappointed so far.
yeah. That's it for the regular conferences. How about a little look at some mythical conferences?
Okay, yeah.
Let's check in the Beehive first. We had some Beehive action this week. Weber State with a win over Utah Tech, and we have a three-way tie at the top of the Beehive.
Woo-hoo. It's getting
Everybody's beating up on
intense.
Utah Tech this year. Poor
Yeah,
Utah Tech.
man. Utah Tech really giving themselves a chance, but struggling early on in conference play.
U- Utah Valley at Weber State. This Utah Valley's first game of the conference game of the season. So we'll see what happens
Yeah,
there.
right. As
Uh,
they start conference play.
the Front Range Conference, one of our favorite conferences. Colorado's sitting here at 2-0 right now. Uh,
Yeah.
one
And
game lead
Northern
over.
Colorado got that big win at Air Force. That was a hard game to win. That was a crazy one.
And we got this Northern Colorado Denver game coming up. Northern Colorado could tie Colorado in the win column with a win in this one.
Yeah, yeah, they could. And man, how big was that overtime game on opening night? Woo.
Mhm. Over in the Back Range, down
Oh
in
yeah, the
Arizona
back.
and New Mexico. We're
Hmm.
still seeing with Arizona State in the lead here, although they've kind of pulled down a little bit on the season, but and no conference games coming this week.
Yeah,
Uh,
kind of
although
disappointing there.
Northern New Mexico at New Mexico State, is that kind of a conference game?
It might
Mm.
be. Yeah. It's not the Rio Grande rivalry, but it might be.
Uh, at the top range,
How
Wazoo
about
dominant so
Wazoo
far.
dominating? Yeah, the top range. Whew.
No
And
games this
East,
week though.
yeah, and again, Eastern Washington. I mean, Eastern Washington just having an incredible season in those new Washington State uniforms.
By the way, North Dakota is about to get blown out of the building by
Yeah,
Alabama. It's Alabama woke up at a little after halftime here, but it was a
yeah,
fun story while we were doing
it
it,
was.
especially when we did it at multiple conferences tonight.
Yeah, it was worth the price of the ticket. The first half alone.
Last mythical conference, the Conference of Champions. UCLA with that win over Arizona is now 3-0, leading the Pac-12. I mean, the Conference of Champions or whatever you
Yeah,
want to call it. That's league.
and just a crazy mythical conference here. This is a little too mythical. I just don't
Also
see.
mythical.
Yeah,
Uh, a couple
big.
big games
Yeah, big
tonight.
game tonight. Wazoo at Washington.
Uh,
Stanford at Oregon. A little. What is that? That's Big Ten ACC Challenge game.
Big Ten ACC challenge between Stanford and
Yeah,
Oregon. Let's go to our top 10 list.
yeah,
Griggs, you, I, and our colleague John Salika all voted this week. Salika couldn't be with us on the show, but we have some honorable mentions to begin with. Teams that did not quite make the top 10. Shout outs to High Point, Kent State, Columbia, Samford, Northern Iowa, and how about Michigan Tech getting an honorable
Michigan
mention?
Tech getting in there. Yes, their big win.
Thank you, Stalika. He nailed
Yeah,
that one,
yeah.
actually. At number
Oh,
10, Bradley, the Braves, just
yeah, and a
barely in
really
top
nice
10.
win. Then, yeah, a really nice win for them tonight. So I'm glad they're in the poll.
Grand Canyon still in the poll, just barely, because
Yeah,
more
not.
on talent than on record.
Yeah, yeah, more on potential than on merit, I think, because right now there just isn't a whole lot there.
College of Charleston coming in at number 8.
Hmm.
They're starting to move up. I think they were just an honorable mention last week.
Yeah, so they had a good
Two-way
week.
two-way tie for 6 between Louisiana Tech and Furman out of the SoCon.
Yeah, I like that
Oh,
La
really
Tech
good teams
team.
there.
We've already talked about them.
Also, two-way tie for 4th between Liberty, the other Conference USA team, and Arkansas State, who we just discussed out of the Sun Belt.
Yeah, and now we're getting into like the part of the poll where you start to look at these teams and think these might be tournament resumes. And that's only the fourth and fifth team.
How about this, Grace? Coming at number 3 with their highest rating ever in the under the radar top 10, UC San Diego is
Yes.
starting to toe the number 1 spot. How about
Yeah.
that for those Tritons?
Yeah, I mean, in it's well deserved, it's well earned, but I mean, look at what they've done and look at how good they are.
And I'll tell
Well,
you, it was very, very close between second and third. Their conference mate, UC Irvine, just edged them out for second place over them.
hmm
Uh, Number
And then
one, probably no surprise, it is the Drake Bulldogs.
yeah, and Drake with a nice win the night or the other night, last
Right?
night,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So, yeah, I mean, Drake, I'm not going to say they're not deserving of number one. They're not who I had at number one, though. I got to say I had both Irvine and UCSD ahead of them. I think in particular, UCSD has outperformed them. I think UCSD has the best profile of the three.
I'll tell you,
Um,
Greg's both Sleeka and I had Drake number one for me. Undefeated carries a lot. Carries a
yeah,
lot of weight for me.
it,
There's
it,
only
it,
four.
it's an
There's
imp
only four undefeated teams left in the nation. There's only one undefeated team in the entire nation that's not in the SEC. And that's
yeah,
Drake.
and it's an impressive undefeated. I mean, it isn't full of top 15 opponents, but they've won a lot of games that were not easy to win. They did not just sit at home and play cupcakes. So yeah,
Let's
they
pull,
deserve it.
I'll pull this down here. Why don't we finish the show off? Why don't you give us any other final thoughts you might have for the night?
Just to piggyback off the top 10, I think that there's four or five teams. Part of the doing under the radar that you're always asking yourself is, can this team get inside the bubble or get to the bubble? I think we have five teams, and it's the five that were, the top five in the rankings this week that can. I don't know if they'll all do it. They probably won't all do it. But I think that when you look at those resumes now, they're starting to look a little like tournament resumes. And if they can hold serve in conference, uh, they can get onto it and maybe even inside of it. And that's what makes this kind of fun.
Yeah, I will be next week doing my first bracket of the season. I think you're going to be doing one tomorrow, Griggs, or the next day.
Yep.
But if nothing changes in the next 7 days, uh, I could see all those top five or six teams we have there all being eight, nine, 10 seeds at least, if not higher,
Yeah.
when I'm looking at
Right.
a
Yeah.
bracket, uh,
hmm
which means they're inside the bubble.
Right.
But on that note, on behalf of David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We will be back next week, Monday night, with our Hoops HD report, and we will have it under the radar. Next Wednesday being Christmas Day, we'll let you know when it is. Probably Thursday. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll
But
figure it out.
well,
But
at
there
some
will
point
be
we will
one.
do a
Yeah.
show next week.
hmm
But thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you again real soon.